This episode of the Brilliance Plus Passion podcast is brought to you by the Podcast Reach System. Are you ready to exponentially reach more profitable customers? Launching and hosting your own show is your proven best solution for networking, client attraction, and establishing your celebrity expert brand. Visit www.podcastreachsystem.com and claim your rightful place as the leading star of your industry so you make a difference for your community, market, and audience. Welcome to the Brilliance Plus Passion podcast. Join us as we celebrate entrepreneurs, business creators, and brilliant minds who reveal what they are doing to make the world a better place by being part of it. Be sure to visit our website at www.brilliancepluspassion.com. While you're there, subscribe to us via your favorite network. Now sit back, lean in, tune in, get your notepad and 2 pens ready, and let's get started.
My name is Adam Homey. I am your host, and I am honored by your wise decision to tune in and invest in yourself today. At the Brilliance Plus Passion Project, we feature people who make the world a better place by their contributions to it and by being part of it. And today's guest is somebody who we have been angling to actually have on here for a while. He and I have been chatting through social media. He's going to be on my other podcast as well. And his name is Chris Burns. Let me just tell you very briefly about him. He's a marketing consultant who helps businesses differentiate themselves and stand out in a crowded field. His approach makes things simple and easy. In fact, so easy, you'll be excited to manage your own social media. And because you'll be generating results, it's going to be fun. So I'm going to let him tell you more about himself in just a second here. But first of all, let's say hello. Chris Burns, come on in. The weather's fine.
All right, Mr. Homey, thank you for having me on your show. I'm excited to be here.
Oh, hell yes, hell yes. So, in your own words, how does the work you do make the world a better place for your clients, customers, and the world at large?
You know, I'm a pretty modest guy, so I don't know that I'm changing the world necessarily, but I go back to one thing, which is I'm really passionate about what I do, and I've always enjoyed helping people. And the way I look at it is, I have skills in only a couple of areas in life and knowledge in only a couple of areas. And that one of those things happens to be marketing. And obviously there's business and leadership and things, but digital marketing is my first passion. And for me, I look at it as though I get to share my knowledge and my expertise with the world, and specifically my clients. And where I get a lot of joy, the thing that really fills my cup is when people come back and they say, "Hey, Chris, you know, that tip you gave me, or that thing you did for me, that service you provided was absolutely amazing, and you helped me grow my business." So I sleep really good at night knowing that I'm empowering and encouraging people to make a change and improve their business. And so if they're improving their business, they're improving their personal life too. That's the way I see it.
Absolutely. So in your own words, what is it that you actually do? What's the product? What's the service?
Yeah. So Adam, I've gotten really, I shouldn't say really good, but I've gotten better at this because before I've always kind of been modest and I never really liked to talk about myself. So when I'd go to an event, people would say, "Chris, what do you do?" And my answer was, well, I kind of do a lot of things, or I'm an entrepreneur. I own a couple different, boring businesses. And I always tried to push that to the side. And something kind of hit me a few years ago where I said, okay, I need to be more specific because I get this question a lot. I'm out and about a lot, and I do a lot of podcasts and things. And so what is gonna make an impression with people? But also I realized that it should be like question provoking. And so I came up with this. I say, my name is Chris Burns. I am a digital marketing consultant. I help a lot of small to medium-sized businesses. And what I do specifically is I make social media so easy, it's fun again. And oh, by the way, it's going to be an absolute blast when you're generating results. And so people will look at that and they'll say, okay, well, that's really interesting that you said that, because you're right. Social media can be hard. It can be this, it can be that. And I'll even go as far to tell people that, and you know this, Adam, there are literally millions of people in the world that are marketing experts or marketing consultants just like me. And I'm not afraid of
Yeah.
that. In fact, I embrace it because I have a point of difference, and that is one of them. But I'll tell you the other thing is that I started my business so that, because I believe that most consultants and agencies are too expensive. They're not results focused, and
Uh-huh.
they make things too difficult and too complicated than they need to be. And so those are a few things that people say, well, who do you work with and what do you do? I try to weave some of those things into all of those conversations so that not only people understand, but I leave them with a lasting positive impression and get them asking questions.
Great, great, great. What are a few of the FAQs you get, the frequently asked questions, as folks work through their decision process of deciding to go with you?
Yeah, I would say probably a lot of the questions that I get, whether they're asking about hiring me for my services or they're asking about marketing, they're probably the wrong questions. So
Yeah.
people will say, Chris, tactically, what platform should I be on? Should I be posting on TikTok? I get questions about, let's see, how do I generate more sales and leads? And people are focused too much on that and they're not
Mhm.
focused on the right questions, Adam. And I'll tell you what they should be focused in on is, why isn't my social media working? What am I
Yeah.
doing wrong? Where can I improve? And I'll just tell you that the quick, easy answer is a couple things. One, people are not strategic. Most of what they're doing online, specifically on social media, is a hope and pray approach where they're just throwing things against the wall. There's really no vision, there's no clarity, there's no real objective. And their motivation is ultimately to generate sales. And I'm telling you, if that's your first priority, it's not going to work.
Right. So you actually kind of answered my next question as well, which are some of the questions you wish people would ask. And I agree that there's a there as far as social media, and it's sometimes challenging to know what is the right strategy actually. So there are folks who may be going at it without a plan who think they have one.
Adam, you're hitting on a spot that's really really important for me, and that is strategy. So I get a chance to speak a lot to different events, a lot of in-person events too. And
Hmm.
if there's 100 people in the room, I'll ask a rhetorical question. And I'll say, "Hey, well, actually, it's not rhetorical, but quick show of hands: how many people in the room have a strategy?" And I'm not kidding you. Less than 10% of the room puts their hand up. Typically less than that. And then I'll say, "Okay, real quick, who actually has it in a document format?" And then we're typically left with 3 or 4 people out of 100 that
Yeah.
have a tangible strategy. And so my
Wow.
question to you is, if that's the case, how do you know what you're supposed to be doing tomorrow? What are your goals? What do they look like? How do you measure success? What are you measuring?
Yeah.
Does your business change at all with seasonality, which we all have a little bit of? How does your boss hold you accountable? How do you know what your ad budget is? And the answer is you don't know any of those things. And so
Yeah.
what I do, or I encourage people to do, specifically with my clients, is I start with an audit. I don't start by building a strategy, because if that's what you do, everything you put into that strategy will just be an arbitrary number, just things you made up. Oh, well, I thought 10% growth this year would be good. Well, you need to look at Google Analytics and Facebook Insights and all those other things to have a very robust, intelligent strategy, specifically goals. And then we build out a strategy. And this is kind of the real key thing here, Adam, is most strategies that people have, they never look at because they're overwhelming. People just stare at this 20-page document and they say, oh boy, that's a lot of work. Well, it would be a lot more successful if you could just build a 1 or 2 page strategy. And so
Yeah.
that's the big thing that I think people should be asking about is, how can they build a foundation that works? And then more importantly, how do you implement, which is the next phase of that?
Absolutely. So hold that thought and let's shift gears for a few minutes here. And this is the fun part where we can discover more about Chris Burns as a person. So, Chris, and this is for your friends, even your mom. Say hi, mom. What would people who know you be surprised to learn about you?
Hmm. People who know me. I'd say people who don't know me well would probably be surprised that I have my hand in at least 4 different businesses.
Yeah.
I would say I'm also a published author. I wrote a book, and part of me being maybe overly or too modest is I
Hmm.
published a book and then never marketed it or promoted it. So it sits on Amazon, and it's not something I talk about because I don't like to toot my own horn. But that would be something that they'd be maybe surprised to know.
Absolutely. Absolutely. What do you hope people say about you when you're not around to hear it?
I'm glad you asked that. So as I've gotten older and have kids, the big thing I want to do is I want to leave a legacy, and not necessarily as someone who's famous, but I want people to say, he was caring, he was considerate, he was inclusive, he was a good guy, very hardworking individual, was fair, and so as a general label, I want people to see me as just being a really good human being.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's fantastic. So the next thing that I want to know is if you could go back in time and change one thing you've done, one thing you've experienced, one thing that's happened, what would it be and why?
I think in my marketing career, and I've had this moment a few times because I started working on my personal brand a lot starting back in the fall of last year. And while I worked in the agency world for a couple of years, I had an opportunity where I could have been posting every day, and I could have been doing a lot of things on
Hmm.
LinkedIn and on other platforms to build a personal brand, and I didn't. So looking back, it's a bit of a regret that I had the opportunity to position myself more as a thought leader 7, 8, 9 years ago, and I didn't focus on it enough, because if I would have built myself a platform that I could have began to started to launch digital products and just do so much more as an entrepreneur and as a marketing consultant. And so if people are out there saying, yeah, I want to do that, don't be like me and don't wait and wait and wait, because it'll never happen if you keep procrastinating.
Yeah, absolutely. So, what famous person, alive or dead, would you like to meet? And if you had that opportunity, what question would you have for them?
Oh, I could probably list you a lot, but
Hmm.
I'm gonna go with one that I used to follow religiously. His name's Gary Vaynerchuk. You know Gary V?
Of
Adam?
course.
Yeah. So when I first kind of came into being an entrepreneur, that was someone I looked up to and had just a lot of interest in. And I could probably ask him 100 to 1,000 different questions, but I would just say, hey, here's who I am, here's where I'm at. What can I do to get over the hump to take my brand and my business to the next level?
Right.
And I'd be
Right.
grateful for any answer, Adam, that he would give me.
Absolutely. So, what inspires you and motivates you to keep going when you're having a tough time or facing a challenge?
Um, I would say for me that's a pretty easy one. I have a very crystal clear vision of what I want to achieve this year and over the next 5 years. I also have very
Mhm.
specific goals that I'm trying to achieve. And I keep in mind a couple of things. I have some personal core values of just these are non negotiables that I operate
Mhm.
on, just the type of person that I am. And so I remind myself every day that I'm progressing toward the goal, toward achieving my goals this year and the 5 year plan. And so I just remind myself that, even if you have an off day or an off week, or, maybe something that borderline disastrous happens in the business, that there's always a new day. And I rely a lot on my positive outlook and my positive attitude and my mindset to get me through that. And so it's really just taking a deep breath, maybe taking a step away. And ultimately, a couple of things that have helped me with that over the years is taking care of myself. And I just use the word or the phrase self care. So I take time to really prioritize the way I eat, my sleep, what I'm putting into my body, exercise, and then other things that just kind of help me decompress, because we all carry stress, whether we know it or not, even during our best days. And so if you can take care of yourself and your body, you can bring your best self to work and serve your clients. You can bring your best self home to your family and your spouse, and you can be your best self. But to do that, you do have to be a little selfish and take care of yourself at times. And that's what's
Absolutely.
helped me a lot.
Well, as I like to say, you can serve more from an overflowing cup than by giving away your last dime.
Boom.
Yes.
I love it.
Yeah. So you have an invitation for our audience, and I'm going to extend that on your behalf. I'm asking you now, in general, what is one thing you would urge our listeners to do as soon as they finish streaming this episode, which is going to be in about a minute or so?
All right. So listeners, if you're out there and you're interested in marketing or anything I had to say, I would say the first thing you should do, if you said, you know what, that strategy thing Chris talked about was really interesting, I would go back and I'd take about 15 minutes and I would do a scroll test of your marketing or social media. And that would be in a kind of a Cliff Notes version of a digital marketing audit. And I just want you to do a couple things. I want you to write down 3 to 5 observations. And that could be about your posting frequency, what types of posts generate the most engagement, what do you think looks the best and resonates with your audience, and look at other platforms and maybe pick 1 or 2 competitors. And again, don't spend more than 15 or 20 minutes. And I want you to take about a half page worth of notes and then use that to improve your strategy. And I say improve your strategy because I'm guessing you don't have one. And if you don't, use that information to help craft your strategy. And if you're going to build one, just make it a 1-page document. Do not overcomplicate it. And I think that is what is going to help you just take baby steps, because Rome wasn't built in a day. Strategies aren't built overnight, nor are they executed overnight. So just take baby steps and progress toward your goal. And I promise you will get there.
Absolutely. And if you need some help with that, Chris is making an exclusive offer here. Go to calendly.com/Chris Burns Digital. And when you get there, you're going to see a few different options. The one you want to select, and you may remember about 5 minutes ago, I said, hold that thought. Go to that page and select the free 15-minute social media audit. So if you've discovered Chris through anywhere online, in fact, you have met him through the Brilliance Plus Passion Project, be sure to mention that. Take advantage of his free, no strings attached social media audit. If you find yourself doing what Chris recommended you do, writing down that 1 page of a simple strategy, and find yourself a little bit stumped or even thinking you have it and just wanting a second opinion, that's yet another reason to go to calendly.com/Chris Burns Digital and claim your free 15-minute social media audit. And with that, Chris, thank you so much for being with us today. It's been an honor, and believe me, an education.
Adam, I really appreciate you. Thanks so much. Love the podcast, and we'll talk soon.
Thank you for tuning into the Brilliance Plus Passion podcast, where we celebrate entrepreneurs, business creators, and brilliant minds who are making a difference for their community, market, and audience. Remember to visit our website at www.brilliancepluspassion.com and enjoy even more great episodes like this one. Again, while you're here, subscribe to us via your favorite network. We look forward to seeing you next time on the Brilliance Plus Passion podcast.